This study looked at cross-sectional associations between self-reported history of monthly cannabis use and self-reported physician-diagnosed myocardial infarction using 10 years of data from the NHANES. I should disclose that I am a member of the board of directors of CV Sciences, a manufacturer of hemp-derived CBD products. Epidemiological studies investigating the relationships between cannabis use and myocardial infarction have reported conflicting findings, largely depending on the study design, the population being studied, and the measure of cannabis exposure. The vast majority of cross-sectional studies have looked at recency of cannabis use, which is defined as use within the past month, and frequency of recent use, which is defined as the number of days used in the past month. But these studies haven't looked at the duration of regular use. This is the gap we aimed to address in this study. This was a cross-sectional study using 10 years of data from the NHANES. The NHANES is the largest health survey in the US. It is designed to produce a nationally representative sample. There were approximately 9,700 respondents between the ages of 35 and 59 years. The exposure was a self-reported history of monthly cannabis use preceding an MI, and the outcome was self-reported history of physician-diagnosed MI. We also looked at interactions involving sex, race, ethnicity, cigarette smoking status, age of first use, and recency of cannabis use, and reported stratified analyses in the event of a significant interaction. Multivariable logistic regression models were used to produce unadjusted and adjusted odds ratios. This is the flowchart that produced the analytic sample. Approximately 57% of respondents reported ever using cannabis, and approximately 1/4 reported a history of monthly use for more than a year. 2 questions plus age of MI were used to calculate years of monthly use prior to MI, which was categorized into 3 categories: less than 5 years, between 5 and 10 years, and more than 10 years of monthly use prior to an MI. Years of monthly use prior to MI was calculated as follows. If a respondent reported 55 years of age, and the age at which they started using cannabis monthly for at least a year was 20, that's potentially 35 years of monthly use. If they reported that it had been 10 years since using it monthly, then we subtracted 10 years to arrive at 25 years of monthly use between the ages of 20 and 45. If a respondent reported an MI at the age of 52, all 25 of these years occurred prior to the MI. In the event that a respondent reported using cannabis monthly after their MI, only the use preceding the MI was used. This is Table 1. It shows characteristics of the overall sample, never users, those with no history of monthly use, and those with a history of monthly use. Looking at these 4 characteristics, those with a history of monthly cannabis use reported a median number of 14 cigarette pack years as compared to 7 and 3. These individuals tended to report more minutes per week of moderate and vigorous physical activity. The proportion reporting an MI was 3.2, which was higher than 2.2 and 1.5. The ASCVD risk score is the risk of a fatal or non-fatal stroke or MI in the next 10 years. The median score was 5.8 as compared to 4.2 and 4.1. This is Table 2, looking at the years of monthly use prior to MI. Approximately 60.4% of those with a history of monthly use reported monthly use for more than 10 years. The mean number of years for that group was 16.5. With regards to recency of use, approximately 38% of those with a history of monthly use reported past month use. So most of them did not report use in the past month. Table 4 shows multivariable models. In the unadjusted model with never use as the reference category, the odds of an MI were significantly higher for those with no history of monthly use and higher even still for those with a history of monthly use. The odds of a self-reported MI were also significantly higher for those with 5 to 10 and those with greater than 10 years of monthly use. The final multivariable model adjusted for sociodemographic, behavioral, and cardiovascular disease risk factors is best visualized as a forest plot. You can see that the odds ratios are all below 1, and the confidence intervals cross the line of no difference, which is 1.0. However, when stratified by recency of use, the odds of a self-reported MI are almost 3 times greater for those with a history of monthly use that report no recent use, that is, no use in the past month. In conclusion, no association was found between a history of monthly cannabis use for more than a year and self-reported MI, except when stratified by recency of use, where the odds were almost 3-fold greater when use was not reported within the past month. It's conceivable that these respondents may have stopped using cannabis earlier due to other health-related concerns that may have otherwise contributed to increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And if so, it may be similar to the smoker's paradox found in tobacco research. Duration of use was also not associated, including duration for more than 10 years. And finally, longitudinal and experimental studies are needed given the expanding access to cannabis products around the world. This study had limitations, including the cross-sectional design, the age limit of the NHANES drug use questionnaire, and the self-reported nature of the exposure and the outcome. Many thanks to my co-authors for their expertise and support.